Okay, let's get to it. This is Mali. This is Burkina Faso. This is Niger. These are three African countries that have decided to topple the presidents because they feel that the presidents were not working for the interest of the people. This is ECOWAS. ECOWAS is a union of African nations in West Africa. About 15 nations came together as a community to work together as a financial and economical community to progress and protect each other in terms of finances together. ECOWAS blocked these three countries from operating because they felt like these three countries were not constitutional. What do they call not constitutional? Is the fact that these countries did not go through elections to have a president, but they toppled the previous president by force. Again, why did those presidents get toppled? Because these three countries felt like their three presidents were not working for the interest of the Africans, but for interest of Western nations. Now, a few days ago, Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger said they are done with ECOWAS. They used to be part of ECOWAS. They are done with ECOWAS, and they want out. Many people applauded it, but ECOWAS say, as per the rules, if you decide to leave ECOWAS, you're still obligated to respond to ECOWAS for an additional year. Now, Mali has said openly, we are not about that business. We are done with you. The military power in Bamako announced on January 28th the withdrawal of Mali from ECOWAS, the same time as the military regime in the neighboring countries of Burkina Faso and Niger, with which they have forged an alliance. The Article 91 of ECOWAS treaty stipulates that countries remain bound to the organization for a period of 1 year after having notified their withdrawal. The government of the Republic of Mali is no longer bound by the deadline constraint mentioned by Article 91, said the Ministry of Foreign Affairs to ECOWAS. So basically, ECOWAS say, you guys are still bound to us for another 1 year. They say, no, we're not about that life. Foreign Affairs claim ECOWAS itself made the treaty inoperative when it failed to fulfill its obligation by closing member states' borders with Mali. So what happened was, as you can see, Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger, these three countries are African-bound. They're country-bound countries. They are inside the continent. Okay, the continent is large, but these countries are inside the continent, meaning they have no borders to the sea. They have no open doors to the sea, if you rather prefer. So why do people need the sea? Why does a country need the sea? The country needs the sea so they can operate in terms of economics. When they need to import stuff coming from other countries, other places, the cheapest way to import things coming from America, from Asia, is through the sea, because through the air and flight are extremely expensive. Now, the best way also to export whatever product you have is through the sea. These countries that have no opening to the sea, how do they operate? They have to obviously cooperate with the countries that have openings to the sea. Now, the issue was when these three countries decided to topple the president, ECOWAS, remember, this is ECOWAS, decided to block entry to the sea for these people. So these three countries had no more entry or exit to the sea. They could not operate. They could not import anything. They could not export anything. And the goal was to make it unbearable for them, very difficult, so that the people of the country, meaning the citizen, will stand up against them and reverse what was installed by them. The goal of ECOWAS was to reinstate the previous president, with which they were working properly or in communion. They were the same people. But unfortunately for them, these three countries, Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger, have been very strong, helping one another. Now they have confirmed, we are done with you, and this is permanent. We do not want to be part of ECOWAS. ECOWAS was instituted and created initially to promote Africans, to help African nations work together and grow economically. Now, it seems it has been instrumentalized by Western nations in order to keep control of African nations. Now we're going straight to Senegal. We haven't spoken very much about Senegal. We spoke maybe one time in the past. Senegal is a beautiful country, one of the most peaceful countries in Africa. Beautiful place, great culture, awesome food. They even have wrestling matches, very interesting in stadium where African gladiators fight each other. One tremendous experience. And I would suggest if you've never been to Africa, Senegal is one of the places to go. It is French-speaking country, but it is beautiful place to go. Now, Senegal, unlike what it's known for, is going through some turmoil. Macky Sall, who's been president for 2 terms, was due to relinquish power on 2nd April, following a Bush attempt to extend his tenure beyond the constitutional permitted limits. Senegal allows you to be president for 2 terms, and after that, you give space for some other people. And many other people have been fighting to become president. They've been on a run to be president. But people say that many of these people have been disqualified by the power in place right now just because they want to keep hold on to power. There is a young candidate in the name of Ousmane Sonko who's very much liked by Senegalese people. Very strong, very dynamic. He comes with ideas that are brand new. Ideas very similar to ideas of Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger. And for many people, it seems like an orchestrated way to do everything possible to stop him from becoming president of Senegal. He's a young man and can relate to most of Senegalese people, because Senegal is mostly young people. Let me remind you here, Senegal, like many other African colonized countries, still use the CFA franc. The CFA franc is money that was left by French people when they decided to give Africa independence. Yes, this money still is printed in France right now as we speak in 2024. And one of the goals of Ousmane Sonko, like in Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso, is to completely get rid of this French printed currency, the CFA franc. And many people, unfortunately, believe that external powers are helping the current president of Senegal to try to hold on to power. A few weeks before scheduled 25 February presidential poll, Macky Sall announced postponement of the election, plunging Senegal into political crisis. ECOWAS. Yes, remember ECOWAS, the group of African nations that come together in West Africa. ECOWAS regional body has since denounced the postponement of the election, urging the return to the electoral calendar. This is very interesting because Macky Sall was in very good terms with ECOWAS. As much as most people feel like ECOWAS is a corrupt movement, Macky Sall was actually one of them. And it is just insane to see that ECOWAS also says to Macky Sall, you cannot do that. You cannot extend your stay in power. And these fellas are one of the biggest problems Africans have. Presidents become president and they don't want to leave power. Why? Because of power. Power in Africa means money, lots of money, access to a lot of money in a way that is uncontrolled. Power means you choose who's going to be who's going to be where, and who's going to leave, who will not. Unfortunately, power goes to that extent. And for many people, unfortunately, once they have tasted that honey-like taste, it becomes extremely difficult to relinquish power into democracy. Ousmane Sonko was accused wrongly of sexually harassing a young lady in a massage parlor. Yes, he went into a massage parlor looking to get a massage and a treatment, like any other man who has these tendencies will do it. When he came out, unfortunately, this young lady accused him of trying to force himself on her. He was imprisoned, and later on, they could not prove that he had done anything like that. Some people believe that many candidates, decent candidates, have been put to the side. They've found all sort of excuses not to have them present themselves as candidates in the electoral movement. Is this the Africa Africans want? Or how can Africa move forward if the mentality remains of I get in power, I'm going to push forward my brothers, my cousins, my friends into money, into enriching themselves and bettering their life in a detriment of the general population. That is extremely sad. Now we are in Kenya. I don't know if you remember Kenya. I love Kenya. I've been to Kenya. Yeah, such an amazing experience. For those of you who did not watch this video, I suggest you do. Such an amazing experience that I had in Kenya. And more videos are coming about different places I have been. Okay, so Kenya is a beautiful place, very dynamic, very interesting African country. If you like New York and stuff, I'm sure Kenya, you're going to like it. It's not quite like New York. No, it's not. It's not. But it's a lovely place to be. Okay, so in Kenya, they have a pastor named Pastor Mackenzie. Pastor Mackenzie was a pastor that was arrested a while back because he was accused of having his followers, his fellow church members, fast to... Yes, these people fasted until because Pastor Mackenzie told them to do so. And this is very sad because this is a generality. It's a very similar situation that happens in many African nations. Many Africans are very strong believers. And unfortunately, the belief sometimes goes beyond reflection and resonance. Many people choose not to think with their brains once they believe. And that is extremely dangerous because Pastor Mackenzie told these people, time has come for you to fast until the Spirit takes you away. And guess what? They did it. 400 people taken off the ground. I'm trying to avoid the word because we're getting sanctioned. 400 people in his compound in a very segregated area where people left city, went into the bush to pray with Pastor Mackenzie. 400 people fasted and they all When the police came, did an investigation, they found underground, unfortunately, people. And now he's being condemned for what he did, him and his people. Now my question is, how do we get to that level? Who is Pastor Mackenzie? Pastor Mackenzie is a Kenyan man that used to be a taxi driver. Yeah, was a taxi driver. And one day he woke up saying, well, the Holy Spirit spoke to me, and from now on, I'm no longer a taxi driver, I'm a pastor. So come to me, I'm going to pray for you. And yeah, that's the reality. So no need to go to school to become a pastor. No need to go get any sort of training or teaching. You just wake up, well, the Holy Spirit spoke to me, and now I'm your pastor. And guess what? Many Africans, unfortunately, believe in these things. You know, instead of logically thinking, if you want to have an issue with an African, especially a lady, tell her pastor's lying, or she needs to review a pastor. She probably will never speak to you anymore. Yeah. Because that's the level of trust many of our sisters have toward the pastor. Many of our sisters trust and believe the pastor more than they trust and believe their own husbands. Yes. Before she speaks to the husband about a personal problem, she'll go talk to the pastor about it. Yeah, some of them will go speak, oh, my man cannot do anything. I mean, I'm not satisfied. Instead of, she had never had a conversation with a man, but she's going to speak to a pastor. As much, fellas, as I believe it's crucial to have a very strong connection with spiritual. So Mali says and confirm we are done with ECOWAS. ECOWAS is a group of African countries, 15 African countries in West Africa that work together economically. Unfortunately, has transformed itself as a pressure point to many African nations that want to feed themselves. Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger say enough. We don't want anything to do with you. The bottom line is you have violated the contract that we had by closing the door to us. Senegal, a beautiful country, unfortunately, now going through turmoil. President Mwekassa postponed the election, and people are very angry about it. Pastor Mackenzie of Kenya going to jail. How do you feel about that? Let me know how you feel about this. Always a great pleasure to know about you. Please, let's share. It's not about me. It's about all of us growing together. Don't go without leaving your comment. God bless.